Check this out. I used to scroll through social media and I would think to myself, like, man, how did everyone else get the secret manual on the way that they're supposed to live life? Like, when was that handed out and I missed out on that? I was just sitting there like, trying to keep the wheels from falling off everything. Everyone else seems to have the perfect, their dream career or perfect family or endless confidence in life. I'd see other entrepreneurs bragging about their overnight successes while, you're just sweating in that, basic operations of day-to-day stuff. I'd watch parents post their like total Pinterest-worthy family moments while, my biggest wins were just getting kids out the door without like complete meltdowns. Or you scroll through LinkedIn. I don't know if you've been there before, and like you're looking at the colleagues who are celebrating promotions or career pivots and like feeling stuck and behind. I mean, what I was experiencing all those things, and what I didn't know in that moment was I was caught up in what they call the comparison trap, and it was stealing all sorts of joy and fulfilled life and energy and my confidence in my own path. So today we're going to talk about how to like actually break free from that, from this like crushing feeling that you may or may not have felt that, everyone else has everything figured out and you're still just fumbling through the instructions. How do we, have this like authenticity that's going to be completely liberating to you? So I want to dive deep into that, but first let me just say welcome to the Giver Method channel. My name is Jake and I'm glad you're able to join me today. A couple questions that I like to tee up that help frame this up for you. Like, do you ever scroll, through social media and feel like maybe you're the only one struggling? Or catch yourself thinking like everyone else seems so confident, so living the life that they've that I want. Like, what's wrong with me? Or maybe you thought like, man, I feel like everyone else got the manual and I didn't. And if that hits close to home, like, then trust me, I get it. I've been there myself, and I want you to hear me. Like, there's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken or behind or anything like that. What you're feeling is one of the most destructive forces in like the social media just kind of flooded world. This comparison trap that we talked about, like, it rewires your brain to like obsess over what you don't have instead of what you already have inside of you. And so I want to really unpack that with you today and dive deep into it. Now, of course, like I said, my name is Jake Talbert. I'm the founder, I'm the author of this book. It's called The Giver Method. Everything we're going to talk about today is grounded in principles that come directly from my book. Now, it came out in November. Since coming out, it's become an Amazon bestseller multiple times. It has tons of 5-star reviews. People absolutely love it. Right now, you can get it for as little as $2 on Amazon. So either pause this video now, open your Amazon app, and go find The Giver Method by Jake Talbert. Get yourself a copy. Or I'll put a link in the description. Go get yourself, like I said, as low as $2. Like, that's the best $2 you could invest in yourself in 2025 and make, the rest of this year amazing, and next year and every year after even more amazing than that. And what people love is that it's grounded in my story with real action items and exercises that align with yours. So I've walked a very similar path to you. I am a parent. I've got 3 boys. I'm an entrepreneur. I've worked in that corporate atmosphere in the sea of cubicles. And so when I wrote the book and came up with all the chapters, exercise and action items, and the stuff we'll cover today, they're meant for parents, entrepreneurs, people who are grinding away within their work, who can't just burn everything down, throw everything away to start from scratch, or go move to the woods to some cabin to go find themselves. So I highly recommend get yourself a copy. Like I said, the link will be in the description. And once again, as I mentioned, like, it's so grounded in my story. I've been exactly in this comparison trap before. Realizing like I was destroying everything in my own joy and fulfillment, like by comparing like my messy struggles to everybody else's like polished highlight reels. People share their wins, after months or years of unseen grind. And I think like, why is it so easy for them? Every step, feels like it's a complete uphill battle for me. And this is what changed for me. Like, I realized comparison wasn't proof that others were better. It was proof that, I'd forgotten what my unique value was. And the moment I started anchoring my worth to like my authentic gifts and superpowers instead of other people's validation, everything shifted. And so that's what we're going to talk about. We're walking through these like practical steps, principles that help you escape this comparison trap and start celebrating your unique journey. And these aren't just fluffy woo-woo ideas. They are tools for real parents, entrepreneurs, and employees that, they're using every day to stop measuring their messy reality against everyone else's completely curated highlight reel. And the really cool part is like there's tons of data out there that shows that like when you like get sort of a comparison idea, it literally triggers the same part of your brain as physical pain. And so no wonder this sort of thing hurts so much, and we see it so much with social media. That same research shows that people who can break free from it, like, they can see up to a 40% boost in life satisfaction within 2 to 3 months. You know, it isn't about pretending like that you're fine or, with, less potential or anything. It's about recognizing your unique path and timing are not the same as anyone else's. You know, you're in the training ground for your gifts that only you can bring. And I want you to hear that very clearly. You are the only person in the world that has your unique combination of gifts and superpowers and experiences, which means that you are the only person that can create the type of impact that you can make. And so if we sit in the sidelines waiting, or if we let ourselves get caught up in this comparison trap, we don't step out and make the impact that we can make. And that's what I want every person to be able to do, is to create more value for the people around them, better impact and influence in the world, and allow the universe to pay them back based off of that. Like I said, everything we're going to cover today is very much grounded inside of the GIVER method, because when you stop comparing your gifts to others, you start developing them truly like as who you are authentically. You realize that your journey isn't a liability. It's like actually a competitive advantage. So I recommend, once again, go get a copy of it. You can get it on Amazon. You can also go to thegivermethod.com, see all the other ways we help people, some of our free resources, join our newsletter. Go find us on all social media, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, under this handle of the GIVER method. And if you're tired of fighting this sort of a battle alone, and you want someone to kind of walk alongside you, helping you discover these gifts and help build the life that you are looking for, then check out the link down in the description. It talks about the one-on-one coaching spots that we have. You can learn a little bit more about that. You can check out the details on the page. And if it makes sense to book a call, book a call. And then, hey, if you have a team or a podcast, an event, some sort of, mastermind or whatever, where this message could help like your people, then I'd love to talk about how we share it with them, and the details about speaking and podcasting below. Of course, hit subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, drop a comment when something lands for you. Don't want you to miss out on anything that we have to provide. At the same time, I love hearing what your takeaways are, so that way I can continue to cater the content to what makes the most sense for you. So let's dive in. Let's flip that being, behind, feeling of being behind, like into the foundation for, like, man, I can celebrate my own journey and really start to empower myself to move forward. And so the first step, area, principle, whatever you want to call it, that you should focus on is you want to call out the highlight reel. Most of us, like most of what we see online, is truly just that, a highlight reel. Nobody's posting the full story. You see a family vacation photo, but not the meltdown that happened 5 minutes before. I can speak to that personally. We were in Hawaii 2 months back, took family pictures, and the pictures turned out absolutely amazing. And then at the same time, you didn't see that, like, just moments later, my son wanted to go run into the water and get all sandy and get all like dirty and messy, and like before we knew it, like, one boy was grumpy, one boy was dirty, another boy was hungry, and we had to just go start figuring things out really quickly. So I'm glad we snapped the pictures that we did. You don't see that stuff. You see people with a business milestone. You don't see the late nights or the self-doubt or the failed attempts that came first. And so here's the funny thing. Like, you do it. We all do it. You don't post your laundry pile in the corner, or the argument that you had before church, or the 3 proposals that got rejected before one finally landed. You don't post that stuff. We all share good stuff. It's normal. We want to share. We want to brag. We want people to see these cool things that we're doing. But the trap is forgetting that everybody else is doing the same. You end up comparing your behind the scenes chaos to their polished, filtered, catered moment. And then beat yourself up because, like, you think you're behind. So the shift is when, comparison starts creeping in. What you got to do is just start, you got to pause and remind yourself, okay, this is a highlight reel. It's their life is just as messy and human as mine. And if you want to take that deeper, you can always do like a reality check conversation where, you reach out to someone you admire and ask them about their struggles. 9 times out of 10, they'll be honest. They'll realize that, and they'll realize what you're looking for, and you're going to realize like that, they're fighting battles that you never see as well. Now, here's a quick trick. Like, when you feel that sting of comparison, like, flip it back on itself and ask, like, well, what progress have I made lately that I'm not giving myself credit for? Because chances are you've come a lot further than you think. Because, like, when you do these little things just to flip the conversation, be like, cool, I see it. This is just a highlight reel, and I'm doing just fine. Like, when you can see that, like, and see through the illusion of it, you stop using someone else's curated story as the evidence that you're not enough. And you can celebrate your own wins and stay rooted in your own journey and bring more joy and fulfillment back into your life. Now that leads us to the second step or area to focus on, which is like anchor into what's already yours. And that's the thing about comparison. It blinds us to our own gifts. You're so busy watching other people that you seem to have forgotten like your unique mix of strengths and experiences and perspectives that you bring to the table. Once again, like, You're the only person with this combination of gifts, superpowers, and experiences. You are the only person who can make the impact that you're born to make. And that's the kicker. Your gifts usually make you feel like they feel too normal to you. You think like, oh, it's nothing special. Everybody can do that. But no, they can't. I promise you they can't. You have a uniqueness. Maybe you're a parent who can defuse a meltdown in calm chaos. Man, I wish I could do that every time. Maybe you're the employee who can take a complicated problem and explain it really easily to the whole team. Maybe you're the entrepreneur who always spots the opportunities that nobody else sees. Those are gifts. They're not small. They make you, you. But comparison makes us dismiss them. We start envying everyone else's highlight reels, and we start ignoring the things that you do every day that people couldn't live without. So here's some strategies, some ideas to like flip that for you. Start collecting gift evidence for the next week. Write down every time someone thanks you for something, someone asks you for advice, or lights up because you said something or you did something, like whatever it is. That's your gift showing up in real time. Maybe jot them down on your phone. Maybe at night you do like a download of those sort of things. Like, it's amazing. You'll start to see the things that are coming out. You can also go and ask other people like who know you best. I always love when people will reach out to 3 to 5 trusted voices, friends or coworkers, family, spouse, whatever, and say like, hey, when I'm at my best, what's one thing I bring that really makes a difference? Hey, if you had somebody that needed help with something, you're like, oh my gosh, you need to go talk to Jake. What would the thing be? Why? Like, what was it that I would provide? You'll be surprised at what they see in you that you've been just totally brushing off. And then you can write out like your value statement, and this is like legitimately something you can write out, remind yourself of. So it's something like this, like hey, I naturally bring calm in chaos, which helps my family feel safe. And that comes from my life experiences and like my way of showing up for the people that I care about. It doesn't have to be perfect. You just have to remind yourself of what you already have. And who you're trying to be, how you're trying to show up very intentionally. And then when comparison starts creeping in, don't ask well, why don't I have what they have? Why can't I do that? Why am I? It's flip it and say okay, well, what do I have that they might not? How could I approach that different? How could I get to the result they got to over a long period of time, maybe faster on my own journey? When you root all of this within your worth. Your worth within your gifts. So let me put it that way. Instead of other people's achievements, comparison, it loses its grip, and you stop needing to match everyone else's timeline to feel valuable. Your journey, even though it's messy and real and unique, it's the proof that you're building something that nobody else could, and that you're going to be able to make the impact that nobody else could. Which takes us to the third step. You got to redefine what winning actually means to you. And this one's crazy. Because it's a sneaky thing about this comparison trap. It tricks you into using other people's scorecards. When you're scrolling and suddenly their version of success becomes yours, you just take it on. The entrepreneur starts, thinking money is the only marker. The employee starts chasing promotions that don't even light them up. The parent who feels pressured to have that Pinterest perfect, kid party instead of just being present with them. No wonder we feel like we're always behind. We're measuring our lives against somebody else's priorities that weren't even built for us. But there's an anecdote that you can do. You build your own damn scorecard. It's pretty easy, right? It's your own internal scorecard where you're not lowering your standards at all. You're still living within your values and who it is that you want to be. But you're just finally raising up your standards and your values that actually matter to you. So here's a couple things to do that are going to help with this. Once again, start with your values. Write down what are your top 5 values, like family, creativity, faith, health, growth. There's all sorts of resources out there to help you come up with what your values are. Whatever matters to you, that's what it's going to be. And then ask how much of my success right now reflects these? How much of it is just me chasing what looks good to others? Redefine success through those values. You connect, the connection between your values, what you value. Maybe, success looks like family dinners without phones. Holy crap, that would be amazing. Maybe success, if you value creativity, maybe that success looks like finishing a personal project instead of waiting for some new job title to do it. Another thing is track your progress, not theirs. Each week jot down what's a skill that you grew, maybe a challenge you pushed through, the relationship you invested in, or the one way that you live within your values or more authentically you. That's your proof that you're moving forward, And then before you jump into any new goal, check it against your values. Hey, do I want this because it actually matters to me or because I want to impress somebody? oh my goodness, like it's going to have such an amazing impact, because if you define your own success on your own terms, comparison like loses like its grip and its grasp that it has on you. Other people's wins don't threaten you anymore. They're just interesting, or maybe some learning points, data points. Like that's all it is, which takes us to the fourth step, where you flip that envy into fuel. Because if we're honest, we all feel that little sting when we see someone else winning, and we can flip that. Like your friend launches their business, coworker lands a promotion, another parent like posts this perfect family vacation photo, and instantly that voice whispers like, why them, not me? I want that. And so the shift here is going to be, instead of letting that envy drag you down, use it as fuel. What if instead of like, why them, it's like, hey, what can I learn here that actually applies to my own life? It's not about copying their path. We just talked about that. You don't want that, because their circumstances, gifts, and timing are totally different. They're meant to make a different impact than you. Just realize that and acknowledge it. This is about pulling out like, the print, like pulling out this sort of principle. Maybe, okay, let's look at it this way. Maybe you're, really admiring is the courage or their consistency or the way that they treat people. Like think of the principle underneath it all. Like those are the things that you can practice too in your own way. Not that you need to copy, like I need to live exactly the way they are. It's like, no, well, what's the principle? What's the thing, the value? What is it showing? How can I then put that into my life where I'm at right now? And so here's some ways you can do this, like how to do it in real life. When comparisons start to hit, get curious, like asking yourself, like, what specifically do I admire about this? And write it down. And then flip it, like, how could I grow that same quality using my strengths in like where I'm at, like my season of life? And then turn it into some sort of an action step. Just be like, hey, the first step I'm going to take is blank. And that's like your mini growth plan. It's amazing what just that little thing will do as you start to then take action forward in that. And then a bonus move, once a month, do some sort of maybe a success, study time session, like where you pick someone who, inspires you. And instead of obsessing over their timeline, study the principles behind their growth. What can you adapt? What mistakes could you avoid? Like the moment that you stop seeing other people's success as proof that you're behind, you can start seeing it as free research. Free data points for your own growth. Comparison is going to lose its bite on you. Suddenly, everyone else's wins doesn't make you feel small. It makes you energized to go do more. And then step 5, you got to trust the timing of everything. One of the heaviest lies comparison whispers is like, you're behind, you've missed your window. Everyone else is hitting this milestone, but you're still stuck figuring it out. Like whatever. Like I know that feeling. You see someone crushing at 25 and you're just trying to catch your breath at 35. Or you watch the coworker get promoted while you're still wondering if like this is even the right career for you. And it feels like proof that you'll never catch up. But the truth is, like, there's no universal timeline. Your timing isn't broken. It's building you. The delays, the detours, the struggles, they're not wasted. They're shaping you with all sorts of perspective and resilience that, early success can't provide. Parents who make career shifts, like this is a cool thing I've read up a lot about. Parents make career shifts at 40. They're going to bring wisdom that 25-year-olds just simply don't have yet. Entrepreneurs who like start a business later often carry insights from years of corporate like life that give them an edge. Employees who take the longer road often like end up leading with more empathy, more maturity, and like fast, than maybe a fast-tracking peer could have done, as a part of their own development. It's like, no, I got there because I went the long road and learned all the lessons along the way. So here's a couple things to, put into practice to help you with this. I love looking at your life as a timeline. And so this is like a timeline research where you look up, real stories of people that you admire. And you're going to find like, that most of your overnight successes like were actually years in the making, sometimes decades in the making. What were their timeline? Look at it compared to your timeline. The timing appreciation, write down 3 ways your journey, even messy parts, has given you an advantage. Maybe, you parent with more patience. Maybe, financial struggles gave you resourcefulness. Maybe failure taught you more grit. And then when you feel like you're behind, ask like, well, what could this like time in my life, this season, be preparing me for that requires exactly these lessons? It just changes your perspective so much out of that comparison mind frame, because like you stop obsessing over someone else's timeline, you trust your own. You stop rushing to catch up and you just start realizing like, hey, I'm right on schedule with my journey and I'm going to keep developing and going so that I can be the best version of me on the other side. And that takes us to the 6th step. So, clean up your digital space. Like, you have to. Comparison gets loudest when you're scrolling. You're sitting there, in a messy kitchen between meetings, and suddenly you're bombarded with everyone else's highlight reels, the perfect vacations, polished wins, filtered families. And if you're surrounding yourself by people who you look up to, you're following people who inspire you, like, sometimes you're going to see those things and be like, my gosh, they've got it all together. They're ahead. I'm behind. But here's the thing, like, it's not, your brain's not whispering you that on accident, right? The thing that is showing up in front of you isn't just by happenstance. Social media platforms are built to keep you hooked and showing up, like showing you the stuff that just sparks the strongest emotions. Envy, FOMO, insecurity, all of those sorts of things. If you don't set some sort of boundaries around it, like, your feed is going to get designed for you by algorithms that profit off of self-doubt. And the good news is, like, you can flip that. You can design your digital space so that it fuels you instead of, like, leading you into comparison. So a couple things. Number one, audit your feed. For the next week after you scroll, ask yourself, like, did I feel inspired to grow, or do I feel like trash? Pay attention. What things, accounts, channels, whatever, that, trigger those feelings. Unfollow things immediately. If a person or a page consistently leaves you feeling smaller, mute, or whatever, like, just unfollow them. Turn off any of the notifications. Like, don't overthink it. It's not personal, it's protective. And then replace it with inspiration. For every account you cut, add one that shares the full picture. People who talk about their struggles, the messy middles, and different timelines. That's the kind of energy you need in your feed. And then you always need to create some no scroll zones. Maybe it's the first hour of the day, or in the bedroom at night, like, whatever. Like, give yourself these comparison-free spaces where you can just focus on yourself and your own progress. Your environment is always going to, like, it wins. If your phone keeps feeding you stories that you're behind, no amount of willpower is going to, like, fight that forever. But if I surround myself with, like, voices that remind you of your value, your path, and all that sort of thing, like, man, social media stops being the battlefield and starts being a place that actually fuels you. And then, of course, the 7th step, celebrate your one-of-a-kind journey. Comparison loses all, like, its power the moment you realize your path was never meant to look like anybody else's. The struggles, the delays, the wrong turns, like, they're not wasted years. They are the training grounds shaping, like, your strengths, your perspectives that only you carry. That you are the only person. That's why I'm so passionate when I say to people, you are the only person that has your unique combination of gifts, superpowers, and experiences. You are the only person who is born to make the impact you're born to make, and who can make the impact right now that you can make. And so let's think about the ways that you can focus on that. What are the ways that we could harness these sort of things a little bit more? If you think about it this way, like, single parent who goes back to school later on in life, like, they've got grit and life wisdom that no textbook will teach. Entrepreneurs who fail twice before making it, they've got a resilience and some problem-solving instincts that, first-time success don't. Employees who bounce across industries, like, they see patterns specialists can't, because they've lived on both sides of the table. Your journey isn't proof that anything's wrong or behind. It's proof you're building something that's yours. So let's start by, like, map your assets. Write down your biggest detours, delays, challenges. Next to each one, jot down, like, one skill, insight, strength it gave you, or add multiple. You're going to be surprised how much the messy middle has been quietly training you for. Turn your story into strength. Complete like this sort of a sentence, like, hey, because I went through blank, now I have the ability to some sort of skill or perspective that helps others to some sort of outcome. You're going to shift and reframe this to, like, the scenic route that you went through is one of your most valuable resources. Practice pride, not apology. The next time you're tempted to say, like, hey, sorry it took me so long, like, flip it, like, hey, I took the longer way to get here, but it gave me whatever the specific advantage is that you got. And then set imperfect goals tied to your path. Like, ask yourself, like, what can I contribute that only my unique experience is prepared for? Not the perfect thing that I can contribute. Like, what can I do that only I could, even if it's in the smallest way? If you see your journey as the advantage, comparison stops making sense. You're not racing someone else's timeline. You're making your path that only you could walk. And so if you've been scrolling through life feeling like everyone else has some sort of a manual and you're still fumbling to find the instructions, right? Like, hear this. There's nothing wrong. You're not behind. You're not inadequate. You're not doing anything incorrectly. You're just feeling that comparison trap. And that's a lie that everyone else's highlight reel is telling you, like it's telling you that you're proof that you're falling short. But the truth is, your journey, as messy and delayed and zigzagged, isn't evidence of failing. It's proof that you're becoming something super impactful. Every detour and setback, every not yet, has been shifting and shaping your gifts and perspectives that only you can carry. So you are now the only person that can make the impact you can. Everything we talked about today, you learned about these, look at, call out that it's just a highlight reel, and anchor your worth with your gifts, and redefining your success on your own terms, all those sorts of things. When you start to do those things, your path, you understand you're the only person that's walked the path you have, and that you're the only person that can make the impact you can. The comparison pain that you've been fighting, it's not a weakness, it's just a signal that you really do care. It's proof that growth matters to you. And so the shift happens when you stop asking, why don't I have what they have? And start asking, what do I already have that's uniquely mine that I can go take out into the world? That's the heart of the GIVER method, is discovering your gifts that you already have inside you, developing them with confidence, and sharing them without measuring them against anybody else. That's where freedom and real impact is going to come from. And so if that hits home to you, then go get a copy of the GIVER method on Amazon. The link is in the description. Check out thegivermethod.com for other ways we help people. If you're tired of walking through that sort of comparison trap alone and you want that personal support, check out the one-on-one coaching spots in the link we have. And of course, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, if you have a team, a podcast, gather people for an event space, masterminds, whatever, and you think this message would serve them, then check out the link about speaking and podcasting so we can talk about what that looks like for you. And of course, before you go, hit subscribe, tap the bell for notifications, like the video, and drop a comment on what landed for you today. I want you to just remember, your journey is not some consolation prize. It's your advantage. Stop comparing it to anybody else. Start celebrating it, because the world doesn't need another version of somebody else. It needs the gifts that only you can bring, exactly when you're ready to bring them. It needs your gifts, your superpowers, your experiences combined together to be the most amazing, powerful thing that could create impact in their lives. I hope you start to realize that and start to take action towards that. Thank you so much for taking the time to invest in yourself and watch this video today. Hopefully you have a great rest of your day, and we will catch you in our next video.